Have you ever wondered how to become a great speaker? Maybe you've seen me a time or two on social media or on this podcast and thought, wow, Philip is really great at speaking. Well, believe it or not, I was not great at speaking at one point. And today I want to talk to you about the steps that I took to become the speaker that I am today and that I continue to do in order to make myself a better speaker every single day. And so that first thing that I did in order to become that better speaker was I started speaking. But where in the world do you start speaking? Well, there's this beautiful thing. It's called your phone, and there's social media apps on there. I know it seems very elementary, but these social media apps have this awesome thing called a video that you can post. And believe it or not, it sounds really silly. It just makes too much sense. It's too simple, but I promise you, doing videos time and time again makes you into a better speaker. And I might have to see about how I can add a little portion of me speaking about 3 years ago on a podcast episode. And oof, it was pretty rough. So it's been about 5 years since I really started getting into speaking, started doing video content on social media and doing podcast interviews, all sorts of stuff. But really, it started and continues to build on me doing social media content because I have to get used to taking a short segment of a video or a longer segment. I do more short form at this point, so 30 to 60 seconds long, where I'll take an idea that's in my head and I'll transfer it to you via a cell phone, via a video. And I have to learn how to express myself better and be able to speak more fluidly and eloquently and all of those things over time. So I do these videos, I go back and watch them, and then I fix one thing at a time. It's not about doing the video and never watching it again, which I was there at the beginning. I didn't want to watch it. But as I started watching these videos and doing after action reviews, I realized what wasn't working and what things were working. And I would work on one thing at a time. I wouldn't work on every single thing. It was always one thing at a time I would work on to get myself better at that one thing. And once I mastered that, or I stopped having as much trouble doing a bad job at that, then I would move on to the next thing. So one of the things that we think about is saying filler words such as ums and ahs and right, things of that nature. We tend to say those filler words. So focusing on filler words and realizing it and recognizing it at first made me get worse at it because I kept trying not to do it and I would stumble more and more. But eventually I got used to it and I would stop saying them as much. And I would put pauses in instead, and I would slow down my speaking so I could think through my thought more rather than using those filler words. But posting social media videos was the very first thing I did. Next was start a podcast. Now, this one was a little bit different, and I did in tandem create a YouTube channel. It took me a little bit to start with the YouTube, but I did start with the podcast first. So, two and three, I've got a list here of four things. Number two and three would be the podcast and YouTube. And why I say add YouTube to there is because if you're listening on the podcast, you're not hearing me speak. So, you want to make sure that you're doing video once again, but you're doing longer form content because it's great if you can speak for 30 to 60 seconds and be really good at that. But if you want to actually get on stage, if you want to present, you need to learn how to expand upon an idea. And that easy way to do it is through a podcast. It's amazing what you can do and expand upon a certain thought, a certain topic, or create points around that idea to help you get reps in with 5, 10, 15, maybe 30 minutes worth of content. And so starting that podcast really helped me get a lot better at speaking, but it also helped me get better at communication because as I got on other podcasts, I realized, wow, I'm a boring guest, or wow, if I ask this question or I try and engage back or leave it kind of open or exaggerate a story perhaps rather than just literally answering the question, I try and go to a story and bring out more details for the guest, then all of a sudden they've got more to work with rather than ask me a question, I answer the question, ask another question, I answer another question, and it just becomes this whole interrogation rather than an interview or really just a conversation. And so I learned that, but then also being the host, having to have guests on and interview them, I get to learn how to communicate more properly with a guest and therefore ask better questions and be able to draw more out of them, which helped create a better conversation and a dialogue for me, which got my storytelling and just my overall communications better, also, which in turn made it where my podcast skills, my speaking skills got even better. So having both those guest episodes, but then these solo episodes too. So most people will go into a guest episode and it's great. I think there's a great place for that, but it's not going to help you when it comes to actually speaking on stage because you're by yourself. So really start doing solo episodes as well. And that's the thing that took me up to that next notch, was doing those solo episodes for myself and got me to where I could speak better and speak on something for a lot longer. And then Toastmasters being the fourth one. And I actually lied. I've got a fifth one that I'm going to share with you that most of you might not want to do, but I promise you, if you do this thing, it's going to get you tremendously better overall. But number four is Toastmasters, an amazing organization, especially if you have no experience speaking or if you've just done a video here or there. Toastmasters will help give you some great structure and be in a great environment that will help you learn and grow with other like-minded people who are trying to learn and grow. So Toastmasters is great for that, to help give you that great baseline, give you some solid understanding of the fundamentals and really the science behind it, as well as the book knowledge that you need for speaking. Now, some of that comes into play when you get on a professional stage speaking as, say, a motivational speaker. Some of it you might not actually use. It really depends, but it gives you a very formal and structured approach to your speaking. So I really would suggest to check out Toastmasters. And then the last one, number five, this one being the most important to me. Really, all of these are important. They all build on each other. But if you really want to solidify you becoming that speaker that can then go to the big stages, it's by doing workshops or doing trainings where you spend an hour going through one subject and trying to teach people. Because as you teach people more and more, you're going to see what works, what doesn't work, what gets people engaged, what is just so much information that people are, oh man, okay, we're here. This is a long one. Let's try to stay awake. Let's look like we're paying attention and stuff like that. So you're going to start picking up on these cues from people as you're speaking to them. And so doing these workshops will help you be able to pick up on those cues and learn how to engage an audience better. But that's also going to force you even more than a solo episode that may be anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, or it could be a little bit longer than that, to actually pushing you into an hour or 2 hours, depending on how long your workshop is, but it'll actually force you into this. And at the end of the day, all of these steps are about taking action. If you want to be a great speaker, it is about taking action. The five things are: start posting videos on social media, start a podcast, start a YouTube channel, join Toastmasters, and do workshops. So those are the five things that you can do. But overall, if I had to say there was a common theme behind all of that, it's you taking action. So if you want to be a great speaker, go and do those five things. Start with one thing at a time, build up to all five things, and continue to do all five, but take action no matter what. And that will turn you into a great speaker.